Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine spirit. Today is April the 28th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1441 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2021 on the Greco-Roman calendar. We want to discuss briefly some banking information that we've come across that it essentially affirms everything that we knew about the old banking system, the Piscean era banking system that we are out of, that we're coming out of, and moving into the Aquarian banking system. Is that better, Justice Amos? Hopefully, hopefully it's getting a little louder. Is that better?
That's better, Empress.
Yeah, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Hey, Pauline, how come SafeLight isn't one of your 219 companies? You're going to need SafeLight when they start busting out your windows, girl. Having trouble with Albion technology, Pauline? Must have some low energy today. I'll let you go, Pauline. I'll let you work on your Albion technology problem. I'll be back, though. Grand failure, and welcome to Pauline's Shit Show.
One moment. Let's get rid of the foolishness right now. Get out of here. So, peace and grand rising to the heirs. Today is April 28th, 2021. On the Greco-Roman calendar, 1442, on the ancient moon calendar. I do want to say that we have
all sit and squat for the Pauline Shit Show. All sit and squat.
I don't even know why the dead come here. this is the place for the living. It's filled with living people, living Moors. Goodbye. Back to the land of the dead with you. The Moroccan American Exchange is off to a great activation. We received an awesome number of requests for the package from the heirs for the stepping up and taking responsibility for the companies that our ancestors left for us. So we're excited about that. If you requested a packet and have not received it via email, please place your email address in the chat so that we can get a packet to you if not, or actually send your request to thegovernment@gmail.com. That's the government with an E on the end of government. THE, government with an E on the end @gmail.com. Send your request for the inheritance packet there. And we will get the packet to you so that we can set up the video conference so that we can provide any assistance that the heirs need for moving forward. And having said that, I wanted to show you a banking document. It's an internal J.P. Morgan document that was published. I'll give you just a little bit of background on the document. First of all, the document is a dead document. Let's make that very clear. However, we can learn a lot from the dead document as we craft our living document. So a little background on the document. There was the document that is featured here. There was a woman that it was sent to who was a J.P. Morgan customer, and she and her quote unquote husband were debt millionaires. And by debt millionaires, we already know what that means. That's like anyone claiming to have lots and lots of fiat is a debt millionaire. And her husband passed away in 2012 or something like that. And she, quote unquote, inherited 80 million Federal Reserve debt notes, which can buy a lot of debt. A lot more debt, and that's the kind of stuff we do not want, and we don't use it. So when she passed, when her husband passed away, she put her wealth debt into the hands of her grandson. And her grandson started doing what foreign hires do. They began spending and spending and spending, and they began spending and spending and spending, and doing a bunch of funny stuff with it. So she sent a letter to an email to J.P. Morgan and told them that she wanted to have an investigation into her account because there were some things going on with her account that she had not done. There were charges made that were not her charges. And she knew that her grandsons were doing all types of madness. So this just goes to show that the same thing that was done to us, where the hypothecation and all of that, where they capitalized our sovereign appellations, or actually just recreated them because they can't really touch our appellations, but they recreated fake versions of our sovereign appellations, put them in capital letters and black ink, and they began pretending as if they were us. So when she sent the email to J.P. Morgan, quote unquote, because they're a court too, or they were a court, they're subjects now because we put them in subject status when we leaned them back in 2019 and did court actions on them as well. And we'll prove that they're in subject status too by the document. But when she did that, they put a restriction on her account. And that just, you know, she initiated it and they put the restriction on her account. And then she couldn't even get into it. So when they put the restriction on her account, they did whatever they did in terms of an investigation. And then they told her after a while that they lifted the restriction. But when they lifted the restriction, they threw a little curveball in there saying that if you want to move anything, because she said she got an attorney and J.P. Morgan got an attorney, and J.P. Morgan was saying if you want this, if you want access to this to move it someplace else, you have to go to another, wherever else you want to have it moved, and you have to tell them to move it, because they're essentially saying she doesn't have any control over it, that she has yielded control to the corpses. And only the corpses can move it. She can't move it. She has to initiate it, but they're the ones who are moving it back and forth, which tells her that it's not hers. So there are a couple of things that I want to point out in this document that we were paying close attention to as we move into the Moroccan American Exchange and the companies that we've inherited. And, you know, with those companies, there are land companies and all that. We know all land and all natural resources and all commerce belongs to us. So that's a part of all of this. But as we're moving forward in claiming our inheritance and beginning to employ ourselves and work for ourselves, because
like one of your inherited companies?
We're smart enough to do all of that. We're definitely smart enough to do all of that. We're going to be paying close attention to what we see and what's been done so that we don't fall into any snares. And so far, so good. Okay. So let's look at the document. Can you see the document on the screen? It's on Moorish government letterhead, and I just kind of pasted it in just for illustration. Okay, good. And you already know where you're going out of here. Okay. So let's look at the document. And I'll read it out so that we can see what we need to see in this document. Let me see. I'll make it just a little bit bigger. Oh, not that big. Okay. Okay. So it says, important information, we have listed restrictions placed on your account ending in 66923. Dear Ms. Schottenstein, we are writing to provide you with an important update regarding your account referenced above. As a reminder, in order to protect you and your assets, we placed a restriction on the account while we investigated whether a transfer made against the account may have subjected you to possible financial exploitation. We have investigated the matter and requested a meeting between you and J.P. Morgan Securities Chief Executive Officer, Chris Harvey, in order to better understand your situation and your desires in regard to your account, but have been informed by your attorney that you do not want to meet. What you should know. We have now concluded our investigation, and the restriction placed on your account on February 14, 2019 has been removed. If you choose to transfer the assets in your account to another institution, please be aware that you can initiate a transfer through your new firm to do so. Please also note that transfers of securities through automated customer account transfer service requires that the sender and the recipient account should have the same title. We're here to help. If you have any questions, please contact me. Thank you for your patience while we took steps to protect your assets. Sincerely, Ivan Alfaro, and he signs it in blue. Now, let's point out just a few things that affirm what we've been saying. Any name in black ink has no rights, no control, no nothing. It's dead, period. The dead have no rights, no control, no nothing. And in this document, first, they put a few coverings over her, aside from the one she put over herself. But let's just point out the corporate covering. First, the black ink is a corporate covering. That means that the corpse has taken jurisdiction over her, what she thought was hers. So she doesn't own anything at all, and they're telling her she doesn't own anything. When they say, "Dear Miss Schottenstein," MRS period, that is a fraudulent title that indicates that there is a contract and a bond on that corpse. We don't do marriage, we do matrimony, which there's no bond created when we decide to commit to more. There's no bond created. And bond being a financial term. So there's no debt created when we are in matrimony. Marriage is something that they came up with so that they could go to the U.S. Treasury and create debt and contracts, and then use those contracts. The Federal Reserve uses those contracts. The Federal Reserve is the contract monitor. Okay? Yes, marriage is corporate commerce. That's, if you love someone, and we should have known this. If you love someone and you committed your heart to that loved one, the one you love, why do you then need to go down to the quote-unquote city or state and sign documents and sign over everything? Why do you need to do that? You don't need to do that. That's just them. That's actually the ignorance of us when we do that, not knowing that we're creating yet another contract, another something that they can take and put it on the stock market and traffic us with. It's human trafficking. Every contract that's out there, every corporate contract is human trafficking, and they're going to. And if we don't terminate those contracts, the Federal Reserve will make sure that we end up in jail at least a few times. We have to terminate them. Then we're going to be tested to see, did we really terminate them? And when we prove that we really terminated them, they can't hold us anymore. And not everyone is going to have to test that way. I will say that. Not everyone is going to have to test with jail. But that's just an example because I'm speaking from personal experience. They can't hold you anymore if you don't have any contracts with them. And we don't. So, Miss Schottenstein, that's them saying, okay, we already own you. That's what they're saying. Then they say, we're writing to provide you with important update regarding your account referenced above. It's not her account. It's their account. And that's why we terminate all contracts with these corpses. It's theirs. As a reminder, in order to protect you and your assets, we placed a restriction on the account. So they're telling her she didn't do it, so she didn't have any control over it. But see, if I've seen, you know, some who just don't know any better, they would think that this letter actually protects them. They would think, yeah, they're working for me. No, they're actually taking everything you have and they don't have to give it back. They don't have to give it back. And they're not going to these days because they're in subject status, and we told them, y'all stop claiming our stuff. Stop pretending like you own something, because you don't. We place a restriction on the account. See, now it's not her account, it's the account. They switched the language up on her just that quick. It's no longer her account. It's the account. That means they're talking about two different things. That's a representation of her, what she thinks is hers. And then it says, while we investigated whether a transfer made against the account. Now, how is it that transfers are against the account? How is that? If it's debt, it is against the account because it's another contract. It's another contract. And it says that a transfer made against the account may have subjected you. Well, they're telling her she's in subject status to the account. She is a subject to the account, and if anything happens, they're going to put that debt straight on her. Not on the account, not on J.P. Morgan, but on her. That's why we don't deal with corpses. See, I've seen Moors want to do things in that dead banking system, and they think that they're really doing something, all capital letters and blah, 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 and they're thinking, yes, they accepted our documents. And then they shred the documents and put you back under contract because you agreed to be under it. They're telling her, and this is a hybrid that this was written to, but they're being subjected to. That's why it's time for us to wake up and do what we're doing right now. We've created our own system. And it's not even, it's an ancient one. It's been around forever. We're just activating it, that's all. So they use the word subject. Anytime you see the word subject, I don't care what sentence is used in, they're subject. Somebody is being put under subjection. Yes, in the chat, Justice Yezreel, yes. All judges are bankers, period. Those are court actions that they're doing. They're telling her about all these court actions that have gone on. They're using that language in the letter. They did a court action and froze everything. See, when we did our court action on the corpse and we said that thing is not me. On January 1st, I did a court action on the all caps Pauline Denise Ritchie, which is a thing, a monster that's not me. That has nothing to do with me. I'm Pauline Denise Ritchie in capitis dimiutio nolo in propria persona sui juris in red ink in proprio solo and in proprio heredes, the living. So when we did the court action, guess what happened? Within 24 hours, the corpse bank account froze. It froze. And then the life came back into it. And it began to move as a living sovereign resource account. I didn't know. I knew that it was a possibility that it could freeze, but I wasn't sure how, but I didn't care because I know that thing is not me. And I know that there's debt attached to an all caps, all black name. That's why they call them blacks. That's why they call them blacks. Everybody that has that's thinking that there's some name in capital letters, you're called black. People are calling you black. Don't let them do that. Rebut all of that craziness. This letter is written to a black, but it's signed by someone who's in subject status to the Moors. They signed in blue. Look at that. They signed in blue. And this is a recent letter that she received in 2020 after we put them in subject status. And all they've done is stop the debt from flowing like we told them to do. That's all they're doing. They're just stopping the debt. We said no. And some more think that it's taking a long time for things to happen. They have processes and protocols that we put in place that they have to do to stop that debt from flying around on this land. And you're looking at how that works and why it takes the time that it takes. All they needed was for us to stand up, and then they can tell somebody who claimed to have an $80 million quote-unquote account that they don't own the account. It doesn't belong to them. It's debt. And when we say all debt is leaving here, we mean that. We meant it. So the corporations then that are subject to the Moors now and raised from the dead, they're taking the debt from those who were acting in that capacity. When they said in this letter that if you choose to transfer the assets in your account to another institution, please be aware that you can initiate a transfer through your new firm to do so. It says, please also note, and this last sentence is the linchpin that tells her they don't have to give her anything because it's debt. They don't have to give her anything. And by signing in blue, he took complete jurisdiction yet again over all of the debt. Yes, Justice Amos, yes. We commanded them. And Justice Amos, do you want to read that? Deuteronomy 4:23 and 24, we told them that. In fact, we can pull that up and read it. But the last sentence that they use here, yes, go ahead, Justice.
Deuteronomy 4:23 through 24. So watch yourselves that you do not forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make for yourselves a graven image in the form of anything against which the Lord your God has commanded you. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. That's basically us telling them don't make graven images of, don't hypothecate us. But they did it anyway.
Don't make graven images of God. Yes, that's beautiful.
Yes, Mom.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. We said that. And you know what a graven image is? Think about the word graven. Just take the N off and that'll tell you what it's about. Grave.
All that capitalism.
Yes.
All that capitalism.
Yes. And all the people who profited from capitalism, look where they're standing now. They don't own anything, they don't control anything or anything, and the subjects are doing what we told them to do. Stop that debt from rolling around on this land. Because we're alive. The land is alive. That's what we told them to do, and they have to do it, and you can see that they're doing it. This is proof that they're doing what we told them to do. And they're doing this quickly. Everybody who thought they had a bunch of fiat, I mean, think about this. Even that one doing business as Donald Trump. Everything was gone. Name being taken off of, because, see, you can't have a name on something that don't belong to you. A name is for servants. Slaves don't own anything. You have to take that stuff off. It belongs to the Moors. Building, structures, land, no names on that. That belongs to the heirs. It's appellation and allodial sovereign title. But here she is, this one. Her grandson, and I don't know them. I don't know these corpses. And as far as I'm concerned, they're not even here. They're in the land of the dead because that's how they were operating. But they didn't care. They was like, she's a corpse anyway. We're corpses. Let's just take what we can get for whatever we can get for it. So they told her in this last sentence here, please also note that transfers of securities through automated customer account transfer service requires that the sender and the recipient account should have the same title. She's not going to get anything because whenever people steal, they're always going to move it to an account that's different, that has a different corpse name on it. That's how the stealing was done, by switching names in capitalism. So when they're stealing from each other, they're switching names and switching things around and all of that. That's how they do. Capitalizing the name, the sovereign appellation, and creating a capitalized graven image of the sovereign appellation is what they did. Creating a capitalized graven image. It's a shell game. Yes, Justice Yajurel, it is a shell game. And that's why, that's what China was saying when in the news, when you would hear the courts, China, and I don't even know if it was the courts that was saying that, but the courts or someone over there was saying no more shell corporations. In other words, the corpus and the capitalism has to stop because you don't have anything backing it. And the heirs don't consent to that. Something told them that the heirs were going to wake up and say, wait a minute, we're not that. We're not that. So they already know at 90, the lady in this letter was 93 years old. They already know she's not going to know how to trace down anything. And if she left it up to an attorney, that's why we don't fool with the dead. No attorneys, none of that. We don't acknowledge them. We don't recognize them. We don't deal with them. They have no authority whatsoever, and all they do is deal with the dead. They can't deal with the living. So now, those who were living off of our sleep are reaping what they sown. And now they have to play the guessing game on, is she able to match up the title? Well, what's a title? A title in black is not a title. That's a slave name. And they can switch those around at any given point, and they do. Those are the kind of games. See, I've seen more show letters of, see, they acknowledge my sovereign status, and the name, and it's sitting up there in capital, all capital letters. All capital letters. They done capitalized you and enslaved you already again. Now, I'll say this too about a term that's been used with regard to the heirs that we did not really think that it was applied to us. The term for the fraud, another term for it, because there are many, is called apartheid. Apartheid. Remember, they used to say the ones over there in Africa, they're dealing with apartheid. They're dealing with apartheid. Well, break that word on down. Take, and this is Africa here that they were really talking about. Set the heirs apart from their resources and then hide them. Apartheid. That's not hard to, it's word magic that they were using. And they were sitting there telling every one of us on the news that we've been separated from our vast estate. But they made us think they were talking about Africa over there when this is Africa. Apartheid. Set the heirs apart. Divide them from the land. And then hide it in plain sight. Hide it in plain sight. There it is. Now, the most important thing about this illustration, this letter here, that I want us to take note of is this. In the letter, there is mentioned an automated customer account transfer service. Automated customer account transfer service. Well, what is an automated customer account transfer service? And why is it that if she wants to make a transfer, she has to use that, and the sender and recipient account have to be the same? Why? It's because each one of these corporations has their own internal financial system, just like what we're setting up. Except ours is going to be all-encompassing by the time it's done. JP Morgan, all they did was create their own internal transfer mechanism. And then the corpses, and this is something that we're going to have to learn from them, the corpses in that whole fake financial system that they had over there have decided and agreed among themselves that they're going to accept each other's emails and things like that and transfers. So what they're telling her, and this is what they're going to do, or what they, this is how that would work. JP Morgan has their own internal system of transferring things back and forth. So they created an infrastructure within their corporation, and they made it so that no one from the outside could use it because it's specific to JP Morgan. And this is all corporations have done that. Walmart has Walmart to Walmart. That's what you call it, Walmart to Walmart. That's their own internal conveyance method by which, they convey their quote-unquote credit. We're doing the same thing where we only use our sovereign credits are only useful They're useful all over the earth, but we're going to use them with what we do and not with anything the corpses do at all. And then as we get the other nations of the earth, as we begin making contact with them, and we've already started making contact with them, we're going to be doing trade with them using our system. And we're going to accept their national currency. Whatever their national currency is, as long as it's gold backed by them and no corpses involved, then we're going to accept theirs and they'll accept ours. Okay? So that's the same way that the corpses were doing, where J.P. Morgan would tell any other financial institution that if someone, if they initiate a transfer, then let's just say J.P. Morgan is holding the 80 million or whatever she lost or whatever, quote unquote. And they say, and J.P. Morgan says to her, if you want to transfer that, you're going to have to go to them first and have them to initiate it, because that's what they told her in the letter. You have to go to some other financial place and have them to initiate to make the transfer. You initiate it, but they got to make it. So then when she goes to this other institution, all that's going to happen is that institution is going to send an email and a scan of her signature to J.P. Morgan, their account people, and they're going to say she initiated the transfer of her, what she thinks is her asset, over to us. And J.P. Morgan and all of them, this is where they all agreed. They signed a contract and an agreement with each other, and that's done through the Federal Reserve, by the way, who is the high contracting party mentioned in the Secret Treaty of Verona, one of them. They all agreed that if another institution who has signed the corpse dead agreement sends us something initiated by one of them, initiated by a customer, that J.P. Morgan will remove the 80 million from their books and quote unquote close the account. And the new institution will just internally put 80 million on their books. So it's not like a real transfer where they sent something across the wire and it went from one place to another. That never happened. The banks are just recording what she thought she had and claiming it. J.P. Morgan agrees, we're going to take it off of our books and close the account. And then the other place is going to open it. Yes, Empress Portia, out of thin air, but it's had to be initiated with a signature. It's booking, Justice Frank. Yes, it's booking. That's why they call it booking. Because one person takes it off their books and another one puts it on their books. There's no magic conveyance method all, running around like that. Accounting is exactly what it is. And they just have an agreement that, okay, J.P. Morgan, she said she initiated that it be moved here. So J.P. Morgan, yes, she put her full faith and credit in those corporations by her signature. You see how easy it's going to be for us to do this? Very easy. We just all have to agree to honor one another, to honor the sovereign autograph of the heirs. of each other. Because I'm doing the same thing everybody else is doing. All the Moors are doing. I'm investing in the exchange so that, yes, Empress, listen, the pen is mightier than the sword. It's mightier than the sword. It can make things appear and disappear. Period. It can turn you into a slave if you use it wrong, or you use a black one. It can make you a servant if you use a blue one, a servant to the Moors, or you're the heirs, the sovereign heirs, in red and all lowercase letters. Period. That's how simple this is going to be. So I'll give you another example, and we talked about this like over a year ago. We talked about how this is going to work. With the domicile, let's just say Empress Portia is the Moorish realtor, and I've claimed a domicile. So I've done all my homework on this domicile. Looked up the tax assessor things and everything. The market value, I looked all of that up. So I go to Empress Portia by pre-conference call, and I say Empress Portia because we like to meet, we like to see each other's faces when we're doing these types of demonstrations. And I say, Empress Portia, I have all of the information on the domicile. I've already liened everyone listed on the tax assessor or anyone claiming an interest. I've already liened them. I've already done a court action on it. I've already done that. So now, I've already created a allodial sovereign title. So Empress Portia, since you're the realty expert, the realty scientist, what documents do you have that I need to autograph to close this exchange? So Empress Portia is going to give, she's the realtor, so she's done her work on which affidavits need to be rebutted where realty is concerned. So she's going to provide, you know, those documents that they used to give you. It used to be a stack of documents like this. Well, we don't have to do all of that. All of that was trying to jump around our sovereign status without getting themselves in trouble for trying to use it. Yes. So the realtor, and this is why our expertise, the areas that we've worked in previously, is going to be so important. We need to know the Moors who've worked in real estate, or the ones who've done the study, or if you've even in your sleep purchased a domicile. Look back at all the documents and then create template affidavits of what was given. So then Empress Portia is going to say, okay, you need to have this is the checklist that you need to have to be sure that you have rebutted every claim and everything. The lien, the court action is going to be it. You must be a sovereign heir, in red and all lowercase letters. That pulls it out of the fake system where they can attach debt and take things and claim things. And then there's some real estate documents. You have to, you know, which one has either Empress Portia or myself done an assessment of the domicile? Have we looked at it and seen what condition it's in and all of that? Because that's going to affect the amount that I put on my United States Treasury instrument to Empress Portia's realty company. Okay? So, because see, we have to show that a competent commercial exchange that's completely allodial and sovereign has taken place, and that title has been given and everything. Because see, everything we do is prepaid. So we are going to use our United States Treasury instrument to prepay. That means there's not any mortgages, notes, and debt pledges and all of that. There's none of that. We just pay up front. And then we have the title in our hands. And then we put all of that on the public record. So Empress Portia, being the realty scientist, is going to say, make sure you have this document and this covered. Make sure you have, what do they call it? Not an assessment of the property, but it's something else they call it. An inspection. A sovereign inspection of the property. And you can look on, yes, oh, Justice, almost you're messing. Yeah, that's true. That'll teach. He said, our sovereign court actions are symbolic of Jesus turning the tables over in the temple, in the church. That's exactly right. That's what we're doing right now, period. This is the reset. And Empress Portia's realty company, which can be one of the companies on the list, the list of the Moroccan American Exchange, because these are original indigenous companies. And I want to show you in the 41st Congress, Session 3, Chapter 61 of 1871, where they mentioned the Puget Sound Agricultural Company and the Hudson's Bay Company. All they were doing within these quote-unquote Congresses is capitalizing these companies that are on the list. So it's not like they were making laws to keep everything, you know, whatever. They were capitalizing everything and making sure that everything was capitalized before they used it, because they can't use it in the way that we're using it. So I wanted to show you in the 41st Congress, Session 3, Chapter 61 of 1871, how they did that with the company that is here, the Puget Sound Agricultural Company and the Hudson Bay Company of New York, because Hudson Bay is at New York territory. So Empress Portia will give her list of documents, and that's why we need the realty scientists, and then we need to do the study also. More, you cannot leave. I cannot leave the realty homework. I can't just drop that in Empress Portia's lap. I have to do my own too, so that we both iron sharpening iron, checks and balances on each other. She's going to make sure that I have everything, and I'm going to make sure that what she's given matches my study. Yes, Justice Yajirel, we should all know all. Remember how when you get on the court job and you knew your boss's job and you knew their job next to you and you knew everybody's job and you could do everybody's job if you had to. It's the same thing here. Same thing. And if you don't know it, Empress Portia, being the realty scientist in this example that I'm using here, she can give me the documents and then I go study them. And I say, okay, Empress Portia, I see something here that I don't really quite understand. What is this part? Why is this document here? Okay. And then Empress Portia, this is going to be more coming together and unifying even more in our own sciences. See, our inheritance is opening it up so that we talk to one another and that we continue to share energies and continue rising and being and perfecting everything that we do. So Empress Portia, you know, once I've written out the Treasury instrument, the gold-backed sovereign creditor instrument, not credit instrument, it's a creditor instrument to her. And those who requested the Moroccan American exchange package, there's one in there. There's a sovereign United States Treasury instrument in there. And so once I've signed that over to her realty company, her sovereign realty company, in red in all lowercase letters, then her realty company, after she gets 3 or 4 or 5 of those, she can put that together, and then she'll say, okay, our Moroccan American Exchange, I'll just pick one of the companies that's on the list, because there's like 219 companies that we inherited, and that's just for starters. That's not by any means a complete list, but it's for starters what we could see in the United States archives. So let's just say she is operating the land and realty, because there's land and realty companies on here. Okay, let's say that she's operating the T.M. Hughes Real Estate Agency, Lancaster, South Carolina, because T.M. Hughes was one of our ancestors, the original one, and then the courts just capitalized that and just went running. So I'll make my instrument out to T.M. Hughes Real Estate Agency in red and all lowercase letters. That's going to take it out of the capitalism system. And then Empress Portia, once she gets 4 or 5 or 6 of those, she can say, okay, our vast estate has grown by 16 million sovereign credits, more sovereign dollarium, or United States dollars, whichever you choose to use, United States dollars being in red and all lowercase letters, because that's how we write, and that's what says that it comes from us and nowhere else. The T.M. Hughes Real Estate Agency is showing well, it's going to be all profit, really, a profit of $16 million. So our estate has grown by $16 million because of the work that Empress Portia is doing. She's an heir, so she's growing her own estate. And by us using those services that she provides, we're growing our own estate too, because when hers grows, ours grows too. And then we have ownership of the land and the domicile. So we're using our own and growing our own all at the same time. And it's our own financial system, and it's gold backed. That's how this works. That's how they've been doing it. That's how the courts have been doing it. That's why each corporation had their own internal quote unquote money, and it's not real money, it's fiat, it's fake. That's why sometimes you will hear on the news that, oh, you know, there's been an electronic breach and some hackers got into, you know, and I'll just use JP Morgan as an example. Some hackers got into JP Morgan accounts, and they've had to send out letters to all of their customers saying that there has been a breach in the security of the account, and to check their bank accounts to make sure that everything is there. Well, if that did not affect, if the hackers hacked into JP Morgan bank accounts, that means their bank accounts are not tied to any other company. That means it's specifically JP Morgan or Bank of America or Wells Fargo or whomever. That means they were operating their own internal financial system. And then they have agreements with everybody else that's using the same currency that if I send an email or if it's initiated by the heirs, the customers, In the court's case, it was the customer. The heirs were listed as capital on their books. That's just a side note. We'll talk about that at another time, because that's some crazy mess right there. But we have proof of that too. We have them even saying something very close to that, but we know what the word capital means. So that's why we're out of that system. So when J.P. Morgan, if a hacker hacked in, they only got access to J.P. Morgan accounts. Meanwhile, we were thinking that all banks were connected and they were all the same. In a way, they were, but only by email. They're only connected by the same way we're connected. So Empress Portia's company, her realty company, then can say, this month, in the last 30 days, we did $16 million in real estate exchanges or transactions. And we spell transactions different from the way that the hybrids do, because their transactions are debt transactions, and we don't want anyone to get confused. We're not pushing debt around here. This is all gold back, period. And that's how we do it. And then I would go out, once I've gotten those documents from her and we signed and we closed, and her realty company has copies of the documents, I have copies of the documents, then I send and notify all of the fake corpses that property belongs to me. And it actually belongs to the heirs, because it's gold back. And all government services for that property is the Moorish National Republic federal government, or whatever your Moorish government is. That means fire, police, all of that. That you're not going to pick up the phone and call some corpses to come, because that is a contract, and they will try to kick the door in when they feel like it. That's why we don't deal with them. It's all the heirs, and we can do it. We can do it. We're doing it already, really, because they weren't really helping us. They were locking folks up. They weren't helping us. So, and then, if you look at this letter here, they weren't even helping with proper recording of assets. So we can record our own assets. The Al Moroccan American Exchange can record the assets of the company, and then each one who has claimed the company and who's doing the work can say, okay, we did 16 million, or however much you did in dollars. U.S. dollars in red and all lowercase letters. And whenever we say dollars, ain't but $1, it's ain't but $1. It's the gold back in red in all lowercase letters, period. There's no other. You can't call fiat a dollar. That's not a dollar. It's fiat, fake. So this is how we're going to proceed at this point. We just looked at the corpses and saw, like, they're not doing anything spectacular. Now, with this letter, and this is where sometimes the heirs kind of get a little bit, there comes a question, is with this letter that's on the screen, once the corpse lady, Schotzenstein, or whatever her name is, when she goes into the new, whatever she chooses, financial institution, what's going to happen is that financial institution corpse is going to send an email to J.P. Morgan. But what they're going to tell her, they're going to say to her, the transfer is going to take 7 to 14 days. Okay? And during that 7 to 14 days, she won't have access to anything then either, because it's not hers in the first place. It's theirs. During that 14-day period, the old J.P. Morgan, who previously had her account, is going to remove it off their books and then provide proof to the new financial company that it's been removed, that the account has been closed, and they're going to provide all of the account information, all the transactions and everything that happened in the past, so that the new one, the new financial institution, can look at everything that was done and then say, okay, we're going to put further restrictions on your new account so that what happened over there don't happen no more. And we're going to make it so that you can only withdraw $300 a day of this $80 million. And that if there's any transactions that take place, we have to approve them first, even if you sign for them. That's some corporate stuff right there. That should have told us that we weren't owning anything thinking we were corpses. You know, the new place is going to put worse restrictions on her. And then if she cut up and act crazy, they'll just cut her off completely and say, well, it's in litigation, and when it's in litigation, we have to restrict the use of it so that we can look at the evidence. That's why we don't need to be in that court system. Who in the heck is trying to force their way into that? Let's just do it ourselves. We can record ourselves. Remember, all valid courts are courts of record. All judges are bankers. And when I say judges, I am not talking about them fake ones. I'm talking about us. We're the justices. We're bankers too, all of us. All Moors are bankers. So we're steady doing everything. When we open our mouths, it's a court action. Period. The letter that they sent her is a dead corpse court. It can be sent out to whomever, and she don't have no say-so in it. None whatsoever. Well, for us, we're it. We're it. Period. Hopefully this is making it a little clearer, a lot clearer, I hope. And I know you all, one thing I never do is take for granted the erudition, thinking, and consciousness of the heirs. Yes, Justice Yezreel's sovereignty is the source for law. Yes, it is. We're sovereign and we're the law. Period. This is going to be something that we can do very easily, and we're going to do it. We've already started. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep going. I will say this, that the number of requests for the packets, I was jumping for joy because I already know what this means. It means we're free and we're going to stay free and that we're in control of everything that has to do with us. That's why the ancestors did things in stages for us in terms of first learn how to terminate the contract. Learn how to create a allodial title in red and all lowercase letters outside of the capitalist system. Learn how to do court action, all of that. And that's why at least one court action is necessary. And it doesn't take long to do a court action. If you don't know how to do court actions or you're not feeling too comfortable or sure about them, go on to Light Kajiri Bay page on YouTube and look at some of the court actions and see how quickly they happen. Very fast. They're quick. And you can write down what you hear and then say the exact same thing when you do your court action. They're actually subjects and servants to the Moors. And then that's a good point that you brought up there, Justice Frank. He says they're court administrators, not just. They're actually clerks.
Remember, we used to say they're administrative clerks. Yes, and you and I are saying the same thing, Justice Frank. That is correct. Yes, they're administrative clerks. Well, what is an administrative clerk? The word administrate means do not minister. Do not minister. And that's why when they were doing business as the fake government, they were not ministering our estate to us. Everything was gone, supposedly. When we thought we were citizens, they were saying, nope, you can't have this, nope, you can't have that, can't have this, can't have that. Well, we call it ministry now. And or if we use the word administrate, we put two D's because there's a difference between AD, which means not, and ADD, which means add to. That's why we changed the spelling, because we're changing the meaning back to what it should be. That's why we use ancient English spelling. Add minister, that means the minister's adding to and not taking away. Because that's what creditors do. They add to everything they touch. Everything we touch turns to gold. Yes. Clerks are incompetent to receive grants of judicial powers. They don't, that sounds like you brought that straight out of the law, which I know you did. I know you did. That's law right there. Clerks are incompetent to receive grants of judicial power. They were never supposed to be judges in the first place, and they never were. Period. Never were. But then here's the thing, and this is why we don't go to those fake venues. Because if we're standing there treating them as if they're a judge, we're granting judicial power to a clerk, someone who's not competent to have that judicial power. That's why when I went into the POW camp in February, it was my court or no court, period. When the guy came and held up the little cell phone when I was in the cell and said, "This is your court," I was thinking to myself, you darn tootin'. It is my court, because I'm not going to any fake one. And I didn't. I just did court actions myself. It's my court, period. And anybody that don't like it, too bad, but we doing court actions up in here, period. And that's all we do is court actions. So we've got this already. All we're doing is the same thing they've been doing, except we're doing it allodially and sovereignly. Are there any questions or comments about this? And I was talking briefly about the transfers, because sometimes because we had not seen previously where we could just type something into the computer and it be transferred instantly someplace else, we have the capability to create that. We can create that. It has to come from us. It has to start with us and end with us. But we can create that. So right now, the way we do instant transfers is by email. So when Empress Portia, just for the example that I was using earlier, when Empress Portia's company closes on the real estate transaction that, that example that I was talking about, if I was doing something and I sent her, and I went to her company, her sovereign original indigenous company, to do that, and we finished everything and everything's good, she puts that money on her books that I gave her. She puts the United States Treasury creditor instrument for, I don't know if the domicile was 2.5 million US dollars, United States dollars, in red and all lowercase letters dollars, the real one, not the fake, that fake stuff. Then she puts that on her books, and then she's good. She's good. Her company's done with what they do. And then the more, I would have to go and say, okay, I'm going to notify everybody, and then she can, her company can notify any realtors or anybody that's claiming. And this is how we do with properties where there seems to be a for sale sign in the yard and all of that. The moorishe realtors will notify those fake realty companies that that place has been already, there's a commercial transaction already on the record for it. The contract has been done. Everything's done. It was paid for in gold. It's insured with an indemnis facier. That's another part of that. And the realty companies the moorishe realty companies need to be aware of the indemnis facier and make it part of their packages. And the Moors need to know that an indemnis facier is due for everything. So we need to be sure we're very familiar with indemnis facier. And we can make our indemnis facier for, you know, if the domicile is 2.5 million, we can make it for 5 million. We can double that or triple that, 7 million. It's insured for 7 million. Meaning, if anything happens to it, we're just going to fix it or get another one. Fix it or get another one. Period. And then that's where the Morris Masons come in at, the ones who fix domiciles and all of that. Then they get a piece of the United States Treasury. It's a wrap. We've already done it. It's a wrap. We know what documents we need. We know that we can create them. And we know that we are the Treasury. We're the bank. And right now, for starters, we're sending everything through the Treasury, which is us, the Treasury. Over time, if Moors want to open their own bank because it's right there in the territory, they can do that. And then come to the Treasury, run, you know, Treasury instruments through their bank. That's fine. They can do that. Islam.
Empress,
Yes.
The piece on having the trust, do you have an example of that on your page? Creating a trust.
Say it again.
Creating a trust.
Oh, your trust. The declaration of trust?
Yes.
It's a one-page document. And this is important. I'm glad you asked about that, because when you buy, and you're not really buying it, you're prepaying for it. Everything is prepaid. You're writing out the Treasury instrument from your vast estate. When you do that, you put the domicile in your trust. Is that was that your question, Nobility?
No, it's not. The question is, I think you mentioned, apart from the name change, a declaration, you must also have a trust, a declaration of trust. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Do we have an example of it on your channel?
Does anyone have a one-page declaration or proclamation of trust that they can forward to him in red and all lowercase letters? I'll tell you what it consists of. Yes. Okay. All right. All right. Justice, there's an email address in the chat. Go ahead,
Yes.
Nobility.
Yeah, email me. I'll send you a copy of what I got. Or just put your email in the chat room so I can copy it.
Okay.
You got access to the chat room?
Will do.
Okay. Let me tell you what it will say. This is how simple a proclamation of trust is. It's a one-page affidavit that says, I am all rise and stand. This is a sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine, living, Article 3, Moorish American al Moroccan consular court action. I am sovereign living justice, and then put your sovereign appellation there, your sovereign born appellation there, in red and all lowercase letters. And then you say, for example, I would say, I am sovereign living justice Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis dimiutio nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. No United States, and actually you don't even have to put that sentence in there because it's in red. So then you would say, I do hereby declare or proclaim that my full faith and credit is vested in the sovereign heirs, or the people who are the Moorish National Republic federal government. My full faith and credit is hereby vested in the people who are the sovereign original indigenous living people who are the Moorish National Republic federal government. This is my proclamation of trust. That's it. And then you just sign it in red and all lowercase letters. Where we put our trust.
Is that his email?
Go ahead.
My bad. Is that his email?
Go ahead,
Is in the
Yes.
chat room?
Yes.
On Longo Bay? Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Or is it on Lango Bay?
It's on Lango. Like on the road I go.
Yes.
On Lango. Okay. Okay, I got you, bro. I'll send you a copy of what I got.
Okay.
Is it in red and all lowercase letters? No, Billy, I'm sure
Yes.
it is.
Yes, yes.
I know. It's
I'm
very
gonna send
simple.
them both, the regular one
Proclamation.
and I'll send them both, the regular one and the in capitis dimiutio nolo, red and all ink.
Just send the one in capitis dimiutio nolo, because we really kind of can't use the black. We can't use it.
That's right.
No, that's just for reference for him to where I got it from, how I, that's for him so he can do his study and see how I translated it.
Islam.
Islam?
And then anyone else, thank you, Justice Amos.
Thank you.
Islam. It's a one-page document that states who you are and that that your full faith and credit is vested in the people who are the Moorish National Republic federal government, the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government.
And just place it on the public record?
Yes. You can put it on Moorish American Consulate Public Records page at Facebook.
Okay. Thank you.
On Facebook. Islam.
Islam.
Yes, so a proclamation of trust is a very simple thing, and then once you created title to the property, you put the title in your trust to the property. Put the title in the trust, put the property in the trust, which is the same thing, and then publish it. Our full faith and credit has always been in each other and in ourselves. In ourselves first and then each other, which is the same thing because we're one. So don't let that language scare you or give you pause. We have to trust one another because when we were in our sleep, we didn't even know that we were putting our full faith and credit in hybrid corporate court stuff. But every time you signed something back then, you were putting your full faith and credit in them, and they kept using your credit and not letting you use it like Ms. Schottenstein here. She doesn't have any credit. She's a court. That's why they can take anything, but they have to show that they're, that they have a higher status. And the guy who signed that document signed it in blue, saying, I have a higher status, so slaves can't own nothing. Period. Corpses can't own anything. So I'm going to sign it as a subject of the Moors, so we can take whatever it is that you think you own. And ultimately, that's going to affect everything that has to do with her. Real estate and all of that stuff that she was claiming, all that stuff is back to the Moors. And see, the subjects that are signing in blue, since we've raised them from the dead, whenever we notify them that the property's been taken, claimed, properly claimed, when we notify them, they're going to back off, and they're going to notify, notice the agent has noticed the principal, all of that. The subjects are going to back off. That's why even your declaration or proclamation of trust, or, you can call it a declaration or a proclamation. If you're writing in ancient English, you can use any of those words because it's going to mean what you intend for it to mean. When we do that, the declaration and the proclamation or proclamation of trust, and then we put the domiciles in there, the subjects, they already knew this was going to happen. They knew this was going to happen. They knew we were going to do this. They knew we were going to wake up and we were going to claim things. So they have to be in their proper status in order to do what we say. That's why each one of your documents should be done as a court action, including your proclamation of trust. Let it be a court action. All rise and stand. This is the sovereign, original, indigenous, living, Article 3, Moorish American Moroccan consular court action. I am sovereign, living justice. And put your appellation there. Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis dimiutio nolo, in red ink, in propria persona juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. And then start giving your commands. And then at the end, do your spell, and then say this sovereign action stands as law. This sovereign Article 3 living action and affidavit stands as law. Period. We've got this. This is really ministry work. We've got this already, HEIRS. Everything already belongs to us. Everyone's ready and waiting. The subjects are ready and waiting to do their part to move things on out of the way that don't need to be there, And we don't have to fear this part of the Grand Rising. We just have to do it. Another something that we're going to have to be looking at is waste management of the property. Now, some of you are aware of the waste management demonstration that I did 2 years ago, where I leaned them and I told them no corporate nothing, and then they stopped coming by for the trash. So I've been recycling ever since. I still have not signed any contracts with anyone for trash services. I take and recycle all of the things that can be recycled. And then any food trash, I put it out in nature. Any other, anything that can't be either recycled or put back in nature, I burn it. Now, I'll say this about that, because our ancestors used to do that too. They used to burn the trash. But we're going to have Moors who are going to be doing taking companies from here and doing waste management. We have to work through that. That's another something that we have to work through. And it's not going to be difficult. All we have to do is look at what they were doing, lien everyone, do court actions, and then start using that resource regularly and dependably. That's it. However they were doing it, we can do it. Okay? So whoever it is that wants to take on that company, take that company and then just start doing it. Start doing it. You're going to make a lot of money, gold back money, because all the Moors have to have that. Everyone does. And you know, I'm up for whatever in terms of our economy and our vast estate. So, you know, if I have to start the waste management company, I'll do that too, and go around and be collecting from the heirs who have allodially and sovereignly gotten their domiciles. We'll do that. We'll do the research. You know, if we have to, if no one steps up to do it, we'll do it because we have to do it. All of that stuff has to be done. All of it. But think about the jobs that we've had. We've already been doing everything. We've already been doing everything. We might as well just keep on going and do it for ourselves. And how long do you think it's going to take us to implement an electronic conveyance method by which sovereign credits can be transferred? How long do you think it's going to take us with all the scientists that we have, all the program writers? No time flat. No time flat. That's why I'm not even worried about it. Let's just get started. We'll clean it up and clear it up and fix it up as we go. Like we've been doing everything. The Grand Rising is do it like Nike. Just do it and then do the study and do the work as you go. We've been doing that for corpses and corporations. We'll get in there on them little jobs. And whatever they tell us to do, we just go at it full force, fully committed, but don't control nothing. No, we do. We control everything because we say we do. And then we do it. That's how this works. That other thing is finished. They don't have any more rabbits to pull out of the hat, period. You can look at them and tell. They have nothing. We gotta, so let's go. I'm with it, let's go. Are there any other questions or comments or anything of that nature? Any other questions or comments? Okay. Princess Ali, Princess Alessandra, you're on the call. Do you want to, Islam, do you want to say, with regard to your court action, because you have a court action this afternoon. I'm not sure if she's still here. Oh, she's not here. She was here earlier. She has a court action in 1 hour because it's at 3 Eastern, which is 12 noon here where I am. But it's 3 p.m. Eastern time. Islam, I see that there's someone, I believe you're wanting to ask a question. We cannot hear you. For some reason, I don't know if you have a short in the cord or I'm not sure.
Sister, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Now we can hear you.
Greetings, sister. I'm new to this to all of this process. I'm so excited. And I wanted to know, for someone like myself, other than the sovereign exchange package and the inheritance package, is there something else that I should be requesting just to make sure that I, like a checklist maybe, or just making sure all of my documents that should be in order? Is there, another package that I should be requesting?
Okay, that's a great question. Thank you for that, Empress. So there is a list of things that we need to have at all times, and that list is the following: the name change document in red in all lowercase letters, refuting the fraud of black ink in capital letters. That's the first document. The second document is a judicial proclamation, and those are actually counted as one document because they're always together. The name change and judicial proclamation. Secondly, you will need a termination of all corporate contracts in red in all lowercase letters, and the corporations that you terminate the contracts with is going to be in black in capital letters. And then the third document is going to be a lien on the all caps, all black name and the Social Security number. You want to lien those black instruments of debt. And then you want to do at least one court action on the lien. Whenever you do a lien, a court action should follow. So you want to do a court action on the corpse and the Social Security number. And the reason we do that is because the Social Security numbers are fraud. And so what we have done is we issue to ourselves a sovereign security number. The sovereign security number, and let me go ahead and just put this on the screen, because I want to ensure that we're aware of how this works. The first thing I'm going to put on the screen is a Social Security number and what that looks like. We all know what that looks like. A sovereign security number, once you do a court action on the Social Security number and a lien on it, then you issue to yourself on government letterhead a sovereign security number, and the sovereign security number looks like this. It's written in ancient English, so that's not misspellings or typos, and it looks like this. Same number, but it's a creditor number and not a debtor number. This is how debt is noted. Taxes, debt, and cemeteries and death is noted like this with minus signs. They call them dashes. They're not dashes. They're minus signs. A sovereign security number is this, or in some cases we just leave a space there and do it like that. That's the difference between a Social Security number and a sovereign security number. So if this was your social, you want to lien that corpse activity and stop the debt from flowing, and then let this be your sovereign security number. Okay? That is, those are the documents that you're going to need thus far to do any demonstrations that you do. Those are the documents necessary. All Moors are justices and judges, so we all must do court actions. Court actions take little to no time. I will put in the chat, let me put in there, one of my court actions. Oops. Let's see. Uh-oh. I did not mean to do that. I'm going to YouTube. Just 1 second. Let me go to YouTube. I'll put in the chat one of the court actions that I've done so that you can see how to do them. They're very simple. You can do word for word what I did with the court actions, so that you but just substitute your information for let's see, the nearest court action is going to be this one. Let me just pull up one of the court actions. Okay, I think this is one right here. Yeah, that's one. Oh, because I want to be sure. Okay, here's one right here. By way of the public record, all of the commerce by the said corporate person this is actually the court action that I did on January 1st that I talked about. I did a court action on the social and the it's in the chat. I did a court action on the all caps black name and the social, because those are debtor transmitting utilities. Once the documents are created, Empress, we put them, you can publish them anywhere. Normally, the Moorishe American Consulate Public Records page on Facebook is a free, you can just upload your documents along with the thousands and thousands. There's about 12,000 documents on that page that were uploaded by the Moors and published. So Moorishe American Consulate Public Records page on Facebook, not the website, but on Facebook. On Facebook. You can also use your own social media to publish your documents freely. You can create a publishing page on social media, or you can create a website where you publish your documents. However you choose to do it. Most Moors go to the, yes, Scriptum as well. Is another place where you will find lots and lots of Moorish documents on there. So if you want to publish them, and Scriptum is good because when you Google something in your document, it will come up pretty quickly. But they come up from YouTube and everywhere else too. So those are places where you can publish Empress Islam, and it won't cost you a thing. Just your time, you know, and that's worth everything. That's the most valuable asset that our nation has, is our time, you know. So we're continuing with our financial system, putting it in place and beginning to use it. those who, the Puget Sound Agricultural Company is going to begin harvesting some things off of the land and making them available, and all you have to do is use the treasury to get whatever it is that you want to get from, because we only accept gold-backed sovereign dollars, solarium. We only accept gold-backed. We do not accept fiat, no cash out, none of that. We don't accept any of that. So we only accept treasury instruments, creditor instruments from the heirs for the sea salt. And I'll tell you this about the sea salt piece that I'm so excited about. It is sea salt cures and alkaline, makes everything alkaline. Everything alkaline. That's what our ancestors used to use instead of refrigerators. They used to salt the meat, whatever it was. They would salt it. And when you salt it, it stays fresh a lot longer. If you pour salt in a wound, it's going to clear it. And yes, listen, the sea salt, you can use it. I used it this morning to brush my teeth. It's full of minerals as well, full of minerals. And I'll tell you, it only takes a smidge of that to add flavor to something. Just a smidge. You don't need to be shaking it like all that store, you know, that corporate salt. Our sea salt is potent. I will tell you that, very potent and very natural. It's real salt. So our sea salt company, the Puget Sound Agricultural Company, is going to be harvesting sea salt as well and packaging it up and getting it out to the heirs who request it by way of their treasury creditor instrument, and so that they can use it for medicinal purposes, to clean and clear wounds, and also to make our bodies more alkaline. For example, if you do a 3-day water-only fast and you take a teaspoon or a tablespoon of sea salt 3 times a day while you're fasting, your body will be alkaline so quickly that it's just unbelievable. It only took really 1 day for my body to get back into, it actually takes less than that, a few hours, for it to become back to its fully alkaline state, you know. Would be important to use our sovereign security number. The sovereign security number is used because it's the appropriate time to use it is for any commerce that you're doing in our new financial gold-backed system. The sovereign security number. We don't do socials and all of that. We only do sovereign security numbers in red and all lowercase letters with no dashes in it. So you would use those who have the packet, those who have the inheritance packet. Your sovereign security number is what activates that packet, partially. You activate it, but the sovereign security number is what activates it, as well as your sovereign autograph. And that's also going to activate the treasury for you, because it'll be the first time the majority are using it to secure the estate. So at the same time, it's activating the treasury and all of that for us. So we will be doing, those who have the packets, whenever we're taking appointments now to meet with you face-to-face to provide any assistance you may need. We do want to point out some things in the document so that we don't have to keep going back and forth on, oh, it wasn't done this way, it wasn't done that way, or, you know, can you do this or can you do that? We want to make sure that that the document, that we just do a one-time bringing forth of the document for the Moroccan American Exchange and the company that you've chosen as your inheritance. And you can choose more than one company as your inheritance, but you got to be willing to work them, just like any of the other heirs. I'll use as an example my brother and my father. When my father was, and most people know this already, my father was a Christian minister. He was a bishop, and they had started their own church, he and my mother. And they did that up until they parted, they transitioned. But when my father got ready to transition, he had turned the church over to my brother. Well, when he turned the church over to my brother did the absolute thing he was supposed to do. He got to work. He got to work, making sure that, you know, this was done and that was done and this was done and that was done, and putting programs together and all of that kind of stuff. And that's the same thing with the companies that we've inherited. Let's get to work and grow them. And then we're going to synergize our growth with the companies. We're not going to do it apart from one another because we need one another. So we're going to, like my sea salt company, I'm going to post its earnings starting with my own investment. I'm writing a United States Treasury instrument to my company, or to the Moroccan American Exchange, to tell them that I've activated and chosen that company. So those who have the packet, you already have that in there, where you can choose the company and then make a sovereign commitment to that company. And then the Moroccan Exchange will post the commitment saying this company, for example, Sister Cherry L. Sister Cherry L has proclaimed this company as her inheritance, and she has contributed or tributed $10 million US in red in all lowercase letters. And when you see the instrument, you know that it's in red in all lowercase letters. She has contributed $10 million US to that company to start it up, and then she's going to work that company. $10 million to list it on the Moroccan American Exchange. I am going to put $100 million dolarium or dollars for to claim and list the Puget Sound agricultural company. Agriculture requires, because we're going to be pulling from that to get the land and everything, to do all the realty transactions, etc. So we're starting our company off with $100 million, and we're going to do the real estate transactions with other Moors who are realty scientists, so that their company, their realty company, can grow and they can post the earnings there. That's how we're going to do all of this. It's together with one another. So anyone claiming the companies, go ahead and post the first seed into the company. Seed into your own inheritance and then grow it. Because you're essentially putting, and we want to put sensible numbers there. We want to put sensible numbers. If you put a 63 duodecillion, that's not a sensible number. If it has 39 zeros that you're putting up for your company, that's not a sensible number right now. It might be later. Right now, anywhere between 1 million and 100 million is sensible to list the company as your inheritance on the Moroccan American Exchange. So you can choose anywhere in between there. That's what the Moroccan American Exchange is doing with regard to listing the company as your inheritance. You just do the credit instrument. And it's in the packets that were received. So we're doing the same thing that the corpses were doing, but we're using gold. And you have it in your trust. You have that amount in your trust. Everyone has up to $100 million in their trust that we put on the public record. Remember that? We did a video saying that all the heirs have $100 million in their trust. Well, I'm putting my whole $100 million in, and I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. But so maybe I'll change that to $50 million or $10 million for the Puget Sound Agriculture Company, because there's a couple of others that I want to do some things with and work with them. So let's be thinking along those lines. We are the heirs. We're the 1%. We always have been the 1%. We're doing the same thing now that those fakes like Donald Trump and all of them used to do, where they would have a 10,000 plate dinner for these quote unquote wealthy people, and they would say, okay, let's put our, who's doing what is what they would do. They were doing the same thing we're doing here. That's where put your money where your mouth is comes from. And when we say put our money where our mouth is, it's put our money where our court actions are, because we speak the law and we speak by affidavit. I could go on all day with this. It's so beautiful the way that our stuff works. It all works together. It's always been working together. So are there any other questions, comments, or anything of that nature? How can we request a one-on-one appointment? Yes, we are, the Moroccan American Exchange is going to meet with each and every one by free conference call, by appointment, and that appointment is at whatever time that you make the appointment, because we're here to assist, so that we can go over the documents before you send them back. And then we can answer any questions, and then we can make sure that we have the information to list you as the heir who has inherited that company specifically that you're going to be working. So that the other companies will know that if they need that service, they'll know how to get in contact with you to send you some treasury, creditor money, some real money for your company. And then we just assist one another that way. So the appointments are requested. You just email thegovernment@gmail.com. And the word government has an E on the end. I'll put it in the chat. That's THEGOVERNMENTE@gmail.com. That is how you request an appointment time for, whatever works for you. And those who receive the packet receive the time slots that we have, because we want to make sure we have time for our calls and everything, because we have to keep governing while we're standing our economy. We're revealing it to the world, actually, the earth. So feel free. Once you receive your packet, there's appointment information in the packet by email. Go ahead and make your appointment, and let's do this. Let's get it going, so that the other heirs who are claiming their inheritance by way of these companies can, they'll know who to call as they're working the companies and growing the vast empire, which this whole demonstration right here is all it is let's grow our empire. It's time, let's grow our empire. That's all this is. It's us working together to grow the empire, period. So, are there any other questions or comments, etc.? Okay. With that being said, I believe we have answered all the questions and etc. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs, Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
to the moon.
Thank you, Empress.
Much love.
Islam.
Peace and love.